Hi, I'm Geoff. This is the first of a series of videos where I'm going to show you how I made this jewellery cabinet. In this episode I'm going to show you how I made the case, and in other episodes we'll show you how I made the drawers, doors, that sort of thing. Stick around. The cabinet is made from jarrah and has a back made from Jewellery pine. I wanted to make the drawer fronts from book match panels and wanted the grain to wrap around the case. So I spent a fair bit of time selecting the orientation of the jarrah boards for the case to achieve the look I wanted. I used chalk on the jarrah boards to highlight when I milled the boards flat and parallel. I only worry about the final thickness once I've done that. This project required a lot of panel glue ups because I could not get boards wide enough to make the panels. As usual, I relied on sprung joints and used my glue up risers in the process. Check out my video above on joining narrow boards to learn how to do this. I used sliding dovetails to join the drawer blades to the sides of the cabinet. I created them in the sides using a router and a shop-made guide. The cabinet has a shiplap back that requires a groove on all sides to house the back pieces. I marked out the grooves using a wheel gauge and a marking knife, before using a Dremel with a 3mm bit to remove the waste. The gauge lines help reduce the tear out at the surface of the groove, producing a cleaner look. The sides are joined using floating tenons. I don't have a domino machine, so I use a handheld router and Michael Fortune's mortising jig to cut the mortises in the ends of the cabinet sides. I use the router and a guide rail to cut the corresponding mortises in the top and bottom panels. The cabinet has drawer blades which the drawers run on. and the length of the blades is worked out by dry fitting the case and shooting the blades to length on the shooting board. This is a repetitive process, but you get a good fit by sneaking up on the length using the shooting board. My shooting board got a lot of use in this project, and not just for shooting edges, as you'll see later. The sliding dovetail joinery on the drawer blades was cut on the router table. The router bit is embedded in the fence to minimise the amount of material moved with each pass. I made a pass on each side of both ends of the blade before moving the fence fractionally, exposing more of the router bit to take a deeper cut. This method allowed me to gradually sneak up on the correct fit. In the end, I went a little too far and the joint was not as tight as I wanted. Mortises for the drawer stops were drilled in the drawer blades and cabinet bottom of the drill press. I cleaned them up with a chisel. The final step before the glue up was to install the door hinges in the cabinet sides. I did all 4 sides at the same time so that I did not have to change the settings on my marking out tools. I find installing hinges tightly to be quite challenging, and I use a technique I learned from Scott Horsburgh, which gives me pretty decent results. I mark one end of the hinge location, then mark out the width of the hinge leaves to their approximate length. Working out the length of the hinge is reasonably straightforward. I put my marking knife in the end that I already marked out, then use a pencil to mark out the other end. I find that the hinge has a tendency to move, so I put some double-sided tape on the back to prevent this. I then finish marking out the width of the hinge along its entire length. The depth of the hinge leaves are then marked out using a square, a marking knife and a wheel gauge. I used a chisel and a router plane to remove the waste for the hinge leaves. The pencil line I marked out earlier is the approximate length of the hinge, and I stopped removing waste about 1mm before the pencil line. Once I had completed the hinge mortise to its approximate length, I used my chisel and router plane to sneak up on the actual length of the hinge. I used the hinge itself as a template to make sure I had a tight fit. My shooting board came in handy once more, as I used it as a stop when finalising the fit of the hinge. The case had to be glued up in a single session. I used polyurethane glue for this. I started by gluing the sides to the bottom, and I used a little too much glue in a couple of places, which led to a bit more clean-up work than I would have liked. Fortunately, the foam produced when polyurethane glue dries is pretty easy to remove with a chisel. I chose to use polyurethane glue because it does not have water in it, which would cause the sliding dovetails to expand and bind prematurely. I placed a small amount of glue at the front end of the sliding dovetail so that it would be fixed at the front end of the cabinet and free to expand and contract with the seasons. The ship lap back was installed without glue to facilitate expansion and contraction. The back is fully captured by the cabinet and there is no danger of them coming out, so glue wasn't necessary. The top was glued on last. Clamps were applied and the cabinet squared up, but the footage was damaged, so you'll just have to take my word that it was done.
Well, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please give us a like below, or a dislike if you didn't like it. If you have any comments or topic suggestions, please leave a comment below, and please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the notification bell. That way you'll stay up to date with our videos. Thank you for watching.